Imagine opening a bill for $3,100 and just accepting it, setting up a payment plan, starting to chip away at it month by month. Like that's just the deal. That's exactly what one person did after an emergency room visit, until a random conversation with a coworker completely changed everything. That $3,100 bill, they got it down to $280. And the wildest part is, the hospital had an entire department set up specifically to help with this. They just don't tell you about it. So today we're breaking down exactly how that happened, why hospitals do this, and what you can do right now if you have any outstanding medical bills sitting in a drawer somewhere that you've just kind of accepted as your reality. Let's get into it. So here's the situation. Back in February, this person got hit with a kidney stone. If you've never had one, consider yourself lucky. People describe the pain as some of the worst a human being can experience. It's not something you push through at home. You go to the emergency room, and that's exactly what happened here. The ER visit, the imaging, the IV fluids, the whole thing. Insurance covered a portion of it, which is great, except the portion that wasn't covered came out to $3,100. Now, $3,000 in medical bills is not unusual in this country. It's actually pretty common, which is honestly its own conversation. But the point is, this person had insurance, they did everything right, they had coverage, and they still walked away owing $3,100. So they did what most of us would do. They looked at the bill, they felt that sinking feeling in their stomach, and they called the billing department, not to negotiate, just to set up a payment plan, just to figure out how to slowly pay this thing off over time without it wrecking their finances all at once. And that was that. They were locked in, making payments, moving on. And here's the thing, that's most people's story. That's where it ends for the majority of us. Because we don't know there's another chapter. The average American has no idea that medical bills are negotiable. Like genuinely negotiable in a significant way, even when you have insurance, even when the bill has already been processed, even when you've already started paying it. We're not taught this. It's not on the bill. The hospital certainly isn't going to call you up and say, hey, by the way, you don't have to pay this full amount. That's just not how it works. So most people just pay, or they avoid it, or they let it go to collections, but they don't negotiate because it never even occurs to them that negotiating is an option. That's the gap this story is about. And it's a gap that costs people thousands of dollars every single year. So here's where the turning point happens. This person is at work one day, and the topic of medical bills comes up, the way it does sometimes, just casually, just in passing, and a coworker mentions something that stops them in their tracks. She says she always calls the billing department whenever she gets a medical bill. Always. And she asks two specific things. First, she asks about a financial hardship reduction. Second, she asks about the self-pay rate. And here's the part that blew this person's mind. She does this regardless of whether she has insurance or not. Because here's something most people don't know. Hospitals have what are called charge masters. These are their official list prices for every single procedure and service. These prices are, to put it generously, completely made up. They're inflated to an extraordinary degree. Insurance companies negotiate them down, but the listed price is the starting point. And if you just pay it, you're paying the most inflated version possible. On top of that, most hospitals, especially nonprofit hospitals, which make up a large portion of hospitals in the United States, are required to have financial assistance programs. It's actually part of what allows them to maintain their nonprofit tax status. They have to offer charity care. They have to have hardship programs. They have these entire systems in place to reduce or even eliminate bills for people who qualify. But they are under absolutely no obligation to tell you this when they hand you the bill. So when the coworker mentioned this, the person we're talking about had an immediate reaction, which was, wait, I thought that was only for people without insurance. That's the assumption most of us make. Financial hardship programs, charity care, sliding scale fees, we think those are only for people who are completely uninsured. If you have a job and you have coverage, you assume you're not supposed to ask. You assume the bill is just the bill. That assumption is wrong. and it's costing people a lot of money. So they decided to call. And I want to walk through how this actually went, because it wasn't magic. It wasn't one phone call where someone said, "Oh, absolutely, here's your discount." It took some persistence. They called the billing department, got transferred again. Third person they spoke to. And this is the part that really stands out. The third person offered a 40% reduction before they even really pushed for it. Just from calling and asking. 40% off a $3,100 bill, just from picking up the phone and asking about options. But they didn't stop there. They remembered what their coworker had said about the financial hardship form specifically. So they asked about it. The billing representative emailed over the form right then and there. They filled it out, sent in their last 2 pay stubs and a bank statement. That's it. Just basic documentation of their financial situation, and submitted it. The hospital came back with a new number, $280. From $3,100 to $280. That is a reduction of over 91%. Over $2,800 that they no longer owed. Gone, because they made a phone call and filled out a form. And then they did one more smart thing. They had some money set aside, and they paid the $280 in full right then. Cash in hand, done, closed. And they believe that helps speed the whole process up, which is something worth noting. Hospitals often prefer a smaller guaranteed payment over a long payment plan where they're not sure they'll collect the full amount. If you can pay a negotiated amount in full, that can sometimes work in your favor during the negotiation itself. The whole thing, from making the first phone call to having a zero balance, was not a months-long battle. This wasn't a lawsuit. This wasn't hiring anyone. This was a few phone calls, some paperwork, and a conversation that most people never think to have. And now they've been telling everyone they know. Because that's what happens when you find out something like this. You can't believe it wasn't common knowledge. You can't believe how many people are just quietly paying bills they didn't have to pay in full. So let's talk about what you can actually take from this. If you have any medical bills right now, whether they're from a recent visit or something that's been sitting around for a while, here's your action plan. Step 1, call the billing department, not the general hospital number, the billing department specifically. Tell them you received a bill and you want to understand your options for financial assistance or a reduction. Step 2, ask specifically about 2 things, the financial hardship program and the self-pay rate. Use those exact words. The self-pay rate is often significantly lower than what they bill insurance, and sometimes they'll extend that to insured patients as well. The hardship program may require documentation, but it could dramatically reduce what you owe. Step 3, be patient and persistent. You might get transferred. You might have to call back. That's normal. Keep going. The person who can actually help you often isn't the first person who picks up. Step 4, if they ask for documentation, provide it promptly. Pay stubs, bank statements, tax returns, whatever they ask for, send it over quickly. The faster you move, the faster this gets resolved. Step 5, if you can pay a negotiated amount in full, mention that. It's not always possible and it's not a requirement, but if you have the ability to close the account immediately, that can be a point of leverage. And here's the broader lesson underneath all of this. Medical bills are not fixed. They are not final. The number on that piece of paper is a starting point, not an ending point. The system is complicated and confusing and not designed to make this easy for you. But that doesn't mean the tools aren't there. They are there. You just have to ask. Hospitals have entire departments dedicated to financial assistance. Nonprofit hospitals are literally required to have these programs. The money you could save is real. Over $2,800 real in this case, and all it cost was a few phone calls and an afternoon filling out a form. If you have a medical bill sitting somewhere that you've just accepted as your burden to carry, please call. The worst they can say is no. And based on this story, the best they can say is pretty incredible. If this has happened to you, if you've ever been hit with a medical bill that felt impossible, or if you've negotiated one down yourself and have tips to share, Drop it in the comments. These stories matter and they help people. And if you want more videos like this, real situations, real money, real things you can actually do, subscribe. We put out new content every week, and every single one of it is designed to put more information and more money back in your hands. See you in the next one.